today I'm here to talk about courage, and to be honest, I kind of think it's funny because filming is definitely not my favorite thing, and it's kind of scary actually, but I managed to muster up some courage to do it, and so here we go. So when I was younger, I don't know if I was actually courageous, but I think I thought I was. And there were a few ways that I thought about courage, or at least what it meant to me. One, courage meant that I could do it all by myself, that I didn't need anyone else. And the second way that I thought about courage was that it meant I wasn't afraid of anything, or at least I ignored fear when it came up. And then the third way was that courage meant that I was strong and that I didn't feel weak. And you know, all of these things, regardless of being a boy or a girl, they told me that I needed to work hard, that I needed to work hard and be tough, and that I needed to work hard and cover up so that others didn't see me as being weak or see me as someone who didn't have things under control. But in actuality, I was pretty scared inside. I was feeling scared and lonely and pretty weak in the end. And the tricky part was that when I did things by myself, and I did manage to have accomplishments and achievements, then I started to believe that actually I can do it by myself, that I didn't need anybody, that I was strong enough on my own, and that I knew what was best, and that I didn't need anyone, period. You know, the thing is, I've known God a long time. I was thinking and believing these things all along, though. I treated God as a last resort, someone I can ask to, bail me out after I tried everything that I could and things still didn't work out. And when I did ask him, I actually felt like I'd failed, pretty big. And to make things worse, I always had a nagging fear that maybe he wouldn't really come through, that maybe he didn't actually want to help me out or come through for me in the end. But over time I realized that I was treating God like this because I didn't really know him. I didn't know his nature. I didn't really know how he really thought about me and the world. And more importantly, I wasn't experiencing what all that meant for my daily life. The truth is, courage according to God means that I have the courage to do things because I'm never alone and that I don't need to do it by myself, ever. And since he's my Abba Father, and I'm his daughter whom he loves to the very core, no matter what, he actually can't leave me alone. He doesn't want to ditch me, because that would go against everything and everything of who he is. And here's what's even more amazing. He enjoys my company, and he delights in me, in who I am. So he wants to do everything with me, and he's always facing me with eyes of love and kindness. These are the kind of things that the Bible tells us about who God is. And when I really begin to let these things sink in, when I really realized that these things were true every single second of every day of my life, no matter what I did or what I didn't do, I was just blown away. It changed everything for me. And you know who modeled this perfectly? Jesus. He was so sure of his Father's love that he was able to do outrageous, crazy, daring, countercultural things that ticked a lot of people off, things that shocked people, things that made people look at their whole lives in totally different ways. Jesus made it his priority to stay in his Father's love, and whenever he felt out of it, whenever he didn't feel like he was in right relationship with God or that he needed reassurance from his Father, he knew that it was important to go to him right away and that he could expect his Father to give him the reassurance he needed. Jesus was confident of this because he knew his Father loved to give it. I don't know how familiar you guys are with anxiety, but I worried a lot since I was really little. I was afraid of so many things, but the hard part was I worked so hard to cover it up, that I convinced others and even myself pretty good that I was brave, that I was in control, and that I was on top of everything. And I think anxiety is one of those things that seem like the flu. It's more common than we think. Seems like it shouldn't be a big deal at all. That I should just get over it after a few sick days and some gross tablespoons of medicine. And yet somehow it made my life so miserable. And it felt like living in a prison of fear and negativity every single day. Constant Godzilla-sized fears ate up my joy. They stripped me of my freedom to do things, to just freely be me and freely relate with others. Each fear felt like a giant mountain that was so big that no matter how many times I read 1 John 4:18, which says there's no fear in love and that perfect love drives out all fear, it still seemed impossible to deal with. But I learned that it's actually the person. It's the person behind the perfect love that makes it possible for me to be courageous and to stand up against my fears. No matter how big or small my fear was, my Father in heaven wanted me to acknowledge them. He wanted me to share them with him. And he wanted to reassure me that Jesus died so that I can be brave and free from them. He also permanently put the Holy Spirit in me so that I can be bold and do things through his power and not mine. With each fear, it felt pretty helpless and scary to tell it off and speak out against it. But God reminded me that no matter how risky or scary it felt, exerting courage against the fear was actually the safest cliff jumping or water walking thing I could actually do. I could see that he was standing right there with me at the top of the cliff, getting ready to jump. And at the same time, he was also there, waiting with open arms at the bottom or just away in the distance, just waiting excitedly for me to take the steps towards him. So here's what I want to end off with today. Another big reason why I believe God gave me some pretty supernatural courage to share this with you is that in the end, it's actually not about me. It's actually about you. It's about me believing in the fact that you are valuable and you are so well worth it, and me exerting some courage that I might think is expensive sometimes is totally worth it. That actually it's a pretty small price to pay. That it's about the Father who gave, and actually continues to give everything for you and me, including his Son. And he actually doesn't think much of it. Whatever he gives, he doesn't think much of it because we're that worth it. And because I've experienced my Father's love and I've seen how God sees courage, I know he wants me to pass it on to you. And these things aren't meant to be hidden or secret. So be bold. Go for it. Start by asking God to show you how you can be courageous, how he wants you to be courageous, even in the small things and the big things. And then work your way out towards how you can be bold and courageous for others. Because you know what? He's going to be with you every single step of the way, and he's going to be so excited to do it with you.